everyone, it is Tanya. Welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you are new here. Today I'm back with another speed build, and I suppose the start of a brand new series where I'm going to be creating tiny houses based on all 10 generations of the Very Veggie Legacy Challenge by Lil Simsy. I had so many requests to do this, so I thought why not? It sounded like fun. I have previously also done this in the past for the Not So Berry Challenge, so I will have a link to a playlist in the description if you would like to see those. But for today, we are starting with Generation 1 of Very Veggie, which is broccoli. I will have a link to the rules in the description as well, but I'm going to read you a little bit about Generation 1. Vegetables spend a lot of time outside staring at the sky. You notice the way the sunlight filters through the leaves. You hear how the wind sings. You watch the sky paint a picture every night at sunset. Nature is beautiful and you want to capture it. You become an artist and dedicate your life to honing your craft and sharing it with others. The color theme is dark green. Your traits are creative, art lover, and high maintenance. You don't have a formal career, but you do run a small business selling crafted goods. Your aspiration is Lord or Lady of the Knits, and you want to achieve a 5-star business, max the wellness skill, and max 3 artistic skills of your choice. So this challenge gives you a really good starting point of how to create your sim and what their interests and stuff are going to be, but there is flexibility as well. It doesn't tell you how many kids you can have or anything like that, and you get to choose the skills, and there's just a lot of leeway. With that, because I wanted to have a sim who was going to run their own business, I did decide to create this house in Nordhaven, which is the world that came with businesses and hobbies. And I also, because it's Generation 1 and you're starting with no money, I decided having a micro home would be the best. So I did limit this to 32 tiles so you could get the most benefit from skill gain and all of that with the tiny living perks. So anyway, the shape has pretty much come together now. I knew I wanted to have a dark green wallpaper on the outside, and I also have one of those walls you can place artwork on to sell, and I had that as kind of a structural piece of this tiny home. It holds up a little bit of a covered space that is in front of some big windows and a door that leads you into the tiny house and acts as like a privacy divider sort of, so that there's still lots of light coming into the home, but you can't see directly into it from the street. And I thought that that was a really fun way to include an item that would help your sim to earn money and work on their business into the actual structure of the building. I was just really happy with that decision. But if you do like this build and you'd like to download it and use it for yourself, it is available right now on the Sims 4 gallery. You can find it under my EA ID, which is Gryphi, Gryphi. You can also find it under the hashtag Gryphi, and that information will be in the description down below as well. I'm not sure how noticeable it is in the audio you're hearing, but I am getting over a cold, and I haven't been posting as much recently because I had oral surgery on Monday and then immediately got a cold after that, so it's been a little bit of a rough week. So if my voice sounds a little bit off, that is why. But I didn't want to wait any longer to share this because I really like how it came out, and right now I'm trying to figure out which sofa I want to place down. I picked some tiles in the kitchen, which are from a base game update earlier this year, and then the couch I ended up choosing is actually from Cozy Kitsch, but I did try a few different ones before I selected this one. I just thought it blended nicer with the other green swatches I already picked. Even though some of the other couches I grabbed were actually a darker green, this one just matched a little bit better with everything else. And of course, I had to use the new painting from the kitchen clutter kit that has a piece of broccoli on it because this is the broccoli generation. It feels like it would be a missed opportunity not to, so then I pulled in artwork that had a little bit of pink in it to go with the background of that, and I also got this really pretty ladder shelf right behind the table, which is from the Artist Studio kit, as I really wanted to make sure there were a lot of artistic activities and skill items in this house. And also for the TV stand over here, I decided to use a dresser, so that way there'd be a functional dresser in the space without having to fit it into the bedroom, as I was able to have a separate bedroom area in this tiny home, even though it's only 32 tiles. It doesn't have a door, but it is separate to the living space, and I was so happy with that. But here in the living room, I wanted to make sure there was a huge focus on their artistic side, so I do have the pottery wheel as well as the kiln. There's a lot of artwork up above the TV. And then I decided to use the new fridge from the kitchen clutter kit because I love all of the little pieces of artwork all over it, and I thought that that just fit really nicely with this space. And then there is a shelf up on this wall as well because I just felt like it needed something. And I should be moving one of the windows as well to be up above the kiln instead of on the side of the chair, but First, I am starting to figure out the cabinetry here in the kitchen and getting very minimal clutter in here because we only have one counter that your Sims can prep on. So I wanted to make sure I didn't clutter up this space and make it not functional. So I just have a couple of cutting boards over there, and then the range hood, and I should be getting some utensils as well to put right next to the stove. And I think that's it for the kitchen other than a runner rug that I'm going to be putting over the tile. It ends up being a really pretty one from the Seasons expansion pack that I don't use very often. And of course, I heavily leaned into the color green for this tiny house. You don't necessarily have to do that with this challenge, but I thought it would be really fun. And I made the main focuses for their creative endeavors be painting, pottery, and knitting, since knitting is required for the Lord or Lady of the Knits aspiration. However, I didn't include anything for the wellness skill, even though they do have to max that, but that would be a really easy thing to add outside to grab a meditation stool or a yoga mat. I also ended up using a variety of decorations from the Nifty Knitting pack, so I have a shelf over here by the pottery wheel, and I put a couple of decorations up there, including some yarn and some different craftables you can make with the knitting skill. And then we are heading on into the bedroom nook, and I used this bed from, I believe this one is from Dream Home Decorator. It's not necessarily a dark green, but it fit best with the other colors I already had going on in here. And this is where I added a really large window in that entry hallway where the kitchen is. And then, of course, I wanted to make sure that I grabbed some yarn to put in here, the actual, like, knitting basket. There's a couple of them from Nifty Knitting, and I chose this one. At first, I thought I was going to put it on the bedside table, but it ends up being on the floor instead. It worked a little bit better that way, and I just wanted to clutter up the bedside table with a couple of things, so there ends up being a bookcase here, also this lamp, a little plant, and a couple of other things. I keep it fairly simple, but I wanted to make sure it still felt like it was lived in. And I'm also using a base game rug in here that I almost never use, but I thought it worked really nice for this space, the dark green. And then I grabbed a mirror and I found this little menu piece from Dine Out that has vegetables on it, and one of them is broccoli, so I decided to put that in the kitchen. And then just grabbing some more artwork on this wall with a couple of lamps on either side and a little plant. And then I should be getting a couple entryway items right here next to the bathroom door, so we have a place for you to hang up your keys, and I put a little bit more of their artwork up above that as well, and a indoor trash can. And then the bathroom, it's very simple. It's just a 3-tile bathroom. Since this is a 32-tile house, I didn't have a lot of space to have this if I wanted to have the separate bedroom, so I am just getting a lot of green items and basic bathroom fixtures. So I am using the new shower from the Sleek bathroom kit, and then the sink is from Dream Home Decorator, and the toilet is Tiny Living. And I have a towel and a bathrobe in there, and that's pretty much it. And then I grabbed a room off the gallery that has a lot of paintings in it, and I'm just choosing which paintings I want to have on the front of the house that are like for sale if you have this as a business. So just picking those out. I changed my mind a few different times, and I wanted to make sure they were all things that your Sims could paint with the various options. I didn't want any paint from references since I was grabbing them off the gallery. And then I am positioning the easel and like the little workstation next to it, the table with all the paints on it, to be near there, and working on the landscaping. I get a couple of trees around. I keep it fairly simple though, because this is a lot just kind of surrounded by concrete and rocks. So I didn't want it to feel too busy, and I just wanted a lot of greenery, but I decided it made sense to be in this area. If you are going to run it as a business, you'll need to purchase the like kiosk that comes with businesses and hobbies, but I thought that this was a good starting point, and I'm just trying to figure out which tile I want to use here to lead you up to the front of the house. And I also grabbed a couple of these planters. I think these ones are from Romantic Garden, the stuff pack. I just thought they would look really pretty draping over this area with all the artwork on it, and I'm glad that I did that. So I'm just moving those ever so slightly with the tool mod to make them line up a little bit better. And I also got some flower boxes by the upper windows and this little awning as well that comes in the same green swatch as the siding that is also from Businesses and Hobbies. And I really think this came out so cute. Even the mailbox is green, which is one from For Rent. And then I'm just getting some more like low-lying flowers, I believe a couple of rocks, and a little sign out front as well, because this is somebody's home, but they are starting their business here, and I thought this would be just like a really nice starting spot for this challenge. Obviously, you need to earn enough money to be living here first, and I think it's like 30-ish thousand simoleons. I'll have the total price in the description as always. But I thought this was just such a fun idea, and I'm excited to do some more of these as long as you would like to see them. I believe generation 2 is, I might be wrong. I want to say generation 2 might be eggplant. I will have to look that up. But regardless, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure you give this video a big thumbs up. You can also subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more, and click that bell to be notified when I upload. And thank you to my YouTube members for all of your support. If you'd like to become a member yourself, you can click the join button below the video or the link in the description. Enjoy the screenshots, and I'll see y'all soon. Bye everyone.